doctors' strike, the continuing fertilizer shortage, and now the rising cost of goods.
Lanka ලැක්කම නෑ දැන් පිටි එකක් හොයන්න ගියා පිටි නෑ මොනවාද මේගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ අතු වෙනිකන් නන්නත්තර කරනවා ඉන්නේ අවුරුදු 73ක් කෙරුවනේ 73 කරපු ඔක්කොම එකයි
දැන් අපිටත් අහන්න වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට දැන් සැපද කියලා තමයි මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ හම්බ කරපුවා තියෙනවනේ පිටරට ගිනුම් වල දාලා
කුසියට ගියාම පිස්සු හැදෙනවා මොකුත් නෑ ලුණු ගෙඩියේ ඉඳලා අනිත් ටිකට යනකම් අපිට කිසිම දෙයක් නෑ
අසරණ වෙච්ච මිනිසුන් මේ විදියට ඉතින් නැයි රක්ෂාදු කරන්නේ මේ විදියට ඇයි ඉඳගෙන දුක් කරදර දෙන්නේ සල්ලි තියෙනවා නම් අපි මෙහෙම එනවද ඉස්පිතාලෙකට බඩු මිලත් වැඩි ඔක්කොමත් වැඩි අපිට කන්නත් නැහැ බොන්නත් නැහැ මැරෙන්න තමයි වෙන්නේ.
What you just now witnessed were the people's response to the mounting issues they have to face on a daily basis. What solutions can be provided to these issues? We have detailed reports lined up in the bulletin, but before that, let's take a quick look at your headlines for tonight.
Power cuts across many areas as Norochole encounters more issues. Fertilizer crisis worsens. Pack of urea sold for 30,000 rupees in the black market. Agriculture Ministry gets a new secretary, the 5th in 25 months. Minister Johnston hints that prices of goods will increase even more.
මානවින වැඩි තවත් වැඩි වසංගත තත්වයෙන් බේරෙනකන් අපිට මේ දේවල් වලට මුහුණ දෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
Sri Lanka signs tea for oil deal with Iran to settle fuel debt. Shani Abesekra goes to court against Presidential Commission on political victimization.
Many farmers who decided to cultivate for the Maha season have been left helpless due to the lack of fertilizer. Today, farmers from Mahianganir decided to take their plight to the streets, demanding a solution to the ongoing issue. Maize farmers in the Vevata village in Mahianganir marched to the Mahianganir Agrarian Services Centre today, citing many issues in engaging in their cultivations. They informed the local agrarian officials that the inferior standard fertilizer given to them resulted in their crops being destroyed completely.
Fertilizer was brought from Padya Talava for the cultivation. It looked similar to rat waste but was much larger. We used it and it was dissolved. The farmers have been left in despair. What will we give our children to eat? It's like we have to die with COVID. Tell President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to bring a backhoe loader for the graves that will have to be dug. What we were given was state fertilizer. This is not a friend, but an enemy.
දැන් රජයෙන් එක සමාගමකට දැනුම් දීලා එච්චර පොහොර ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ ගොවීන්ට බඩේන ගොවා ගන්න කලාප වලට දෙන්න කියලා ඒ අනුමැතිය දීලා. තොන් 100ක ප්‍රමාණයකට මුලතාවම සල්ලි ගන්න. ඒ සමාගමෙන් මේක ලබා දීමේ දැඩි ප්‍රමාදයක් තියෙනවා ඒක පිළිගන්නවා.
දැන් ඔය ඇක්සා කියලා මොකද්ද සමාගමක පොහොර තියනවලු?
They say the fertilizer is from a company called AXA. I can tell you what is going on here. They will make the farmers move away from the fertilizer. Thereafter, these companies will team up with MPs and ministers and release the fertilizer to the shops. Then it will not be sold for 6,500 rupees, but for 10,000 rupees or 15,000 rupees. They say the fertilizer will be given for free. They say they will provide a permanent solution to the elephant issue. They showed us prosperity. They showed us the end of everything.
විසඳුමක් දෙනවා කිව්වා මෙන්න පුතා සෞභාග්‍ය දැක්ම කාපිය මේ මුදුමල ඉස්සලා කන්න ඕන ඇවිල්ලා මේ මුදුමල කාලා මේ පොලිටික කාලා මේ ප්ලාස්ටික කටේ ගහගත්තම තමයි පුතා අවසානේ.
Farmers are complaining that a 50-kilogram bag of urea is being sold at 30,000 rupees due to the fertilizer shortage in the country. Farmers in Kantale are saying the soaring prices have badly affected them.
The urea that was once banned by the government is being sold at 30,000 rupees. Look at how the crops have grown well using urea. At the same time, look at the state of the crops that were cultivated using compost fertilizer given by the government.
Our correspondent visited the store at which urea is being sold at high rates.
Urea kene?
Urea 30.
isi panda berada? Isi panda pisang. Dah. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න හරකුන්ට ඌවා ගිහිල්ලා දෙන්න මේ කවුරුත් නැහැ ඔය ජරාව කන්ට.
Farmers of the Mulgala in Polonnaruwa are complaining about the quality of liquid organic fertilizer that has been issued to them. They say authorities have given them a type of liquid fertilizer manufactured using fish waste instead of nano fertilizer.
මේවා කුඹුර වලට ගහන්න බෑනේ මේ නහයක් තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා. මේක පාට බෑනේ මහත්තයා. මේ තනිකර ජරාව තියෙන්නේ මේ. මේක නාවන්න ඕනේ. මහින්දානන්දගේ ඔළුවෙන් දැන් මේවා දාන්න ඕනේ. බල්ල වෙනවා. අන්න බල්ලාවා. රට අගාධන වෙලා ඉවරයිනේ දැන් අගාධන වෙලා තවත් අගාධනකට ගොයියක් නන්නතර කවදී මේවා අපිට බා මහින්දානන්දට කියන්නේ ඒලා උපිස්සල වස්තුව තියාගන්න කියලා කියලා මොකද ඒක සුවඳ වෙනවා ඒ තරමට සුවඳයි ගොයියා අනුකෝනාකල් බලලා ප්‍රතික්‍රම වුණා කිව්වා අද ගොයියකට ගහන බෙහෙත් එක බලලා කරනවා ඒකට ගොයියෝ බලලා කියන්නේ ආන්දු බලලා කියව වැඩක් නේද.
The situation faced by farmers of Athavatunuwewa in Katagasthigilia is no different.
දුව ගහන්න පුළුවන්ද?
Can we use this on our fields? It's similar to soil. They've given us low quality compost. What can we do using this? Look at this. This has been given just to fill our fields. What can we do after using this? It's pointless. There is no growth. Anyone can see that.
The same fate has befallen paddy and corn farms of Katagasthigilia as well.
As the agriculture sector in the country continues to plunge into crisis, the Agriculture Ministry Secretary, Professor Udit K. Jayasinghe, was removed from his position today. President spokesperson Kingsley Ratnayaka tweeted that L.D. Bandaranayaka has been appointed as the new secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture. He is the 5th secretary to be appointed to the Agriculture Ministry in a span of 25 months. Senior Professor Udit K. Jayasinghe told Newsfirst that he was informed about his removal verbally. He added that speaking the truth was a factor that led to his removal. The former Agriculture Secretary said he believed that the minister in charge was unaware of the decision when he contacted him. He recalled that he was one of the pioneers involved in formulating the fertilizer policy as part of the government's Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor. Former Agriculture Secretary Udit K. Jayasinghe expressed these remarks last night.
If a food shortage is occurring in the country, we will have to make some sacrifices and give it to the children and expectant mothers. We will have to stop the importation of food like oranges and apples and only import necessary items like milk powder. As experts, we are working on this. There can be a shortage due to some reasons. We are taking steps to address this during meetings throughout the day. We don't like to offer a solution by hiding the problem.
A sudden announcement was made this evening saying the Secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture has been removed by the President. This was done as if all our agricultural woes will be corrected once the Secretary is removed. 4 secretaries have been appointed to the Ministry of Agriculture so far during this government's tenure. They either resigned or were removed. This is similar to turning the alarm off once a fire has broken out. What we should do is take steps to douse the fire. This government seems to be turning the alarm off every time it rings.
The Valsapugala farmers' protest, which recommenced yesterday, is still ongoing. The farmers are now urging authorities to uphold their assurance and to enact the decision of creating a wild elephant management reserve in Hambantota as it was gazetted earlier in the year. 86 farmers organizations, including the Left Bank United Farmers Organization, have banded together and are currently engaged in a satyagraha opposite the entrance to the Hambantota International Port.
My farmland had been destroyed by wild animals last night while I was protesting here. Even if such incidents occur, we will continue this and move forward.
A satyagraha was launched in Valsapugala on the 18th of January this year, demanding for a wild elephant management reserve to be gazetted. The satyagraha, which lasted 105 days, later ended pursuant an assurance from authorities to provide a solution to the matter. However, farmers have now resorted to restarting the satyagraha since a practical solution has not been provided as of yet.
China's Qingdao Seawind Biotech Group that exported organic fertilizer to Sri Lanka says tests have shown that their products do not contain harmful pathogens, including Erwinia.
The Chinese organic fertilizer manufacturer said that the Hippo Spirit bulk carrier with 20,000 metric tons of organic fertilizer reached Singapore for tests to be carried out by SGS Testing and Control Services Singapore Private Limited. The Hippo Spirit vessel carrying Chinese organic fertilizer that was rejected by Sri Lanka reached Singapore on the 10th of September. The Hippo Spirit carrying the rejected Chinese fertilizer left Sri Lankan waters on the 4th of December after more than 70 days moving around the country. The purpose of the Hippo Spirit heading to Singapore was to test samples and to go for arbitration. China's Qingdao Seawind Biotech Group said the test results will be used in its arbitration case.
Let's now toss over to a short commercial break. Do stay with News First. We will be right back.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Welcome back to the news. State Minister Dilum Amunugama says bus fares will have to be increased in the coming days. Now, he made these remarks after a meeting with private bus associations today. State Minister Dilum Amunugama met with representatives of private bus associations at the Transport Ministry today.
There are 12 factors under the price formula. Diesel is one aspect of it. Only 1/3 of the bus fare has an impact on diesel. The rest is other factors. We will submit the relevant data to the National Transport Commission in the coming days. We assume that bus fares would be revised by about 15 to 20%.
The
NTC's chief, Welgamer, has requested 4 days to take these factors into account and to provide their views on revising the fares. After we receive their opinion on this, the ministry will have to take the relevant steps to amend bus fares to a reasonable level by next Wednesday, while considering the side of the passenger as well. If you are asking us whether the fares will increase, we will have to increase it by a certain amount. We have reached a point where we cannot avoid increasing it.
යම් මුදලකින් ගාස්තු වැඩි කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා නොකර ඉන්න බැරි තැනකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
Other bus associations are expressing the following views on the proposed bus fare hike.
We can't trust the minister's remarks. To protect this industry, fares must be hiked by at least 25 rupees. We will submit our proposed amendments of fares in the next couple of days. The commission that didn't inquire into the well-being of bus owners during the pandemic have no right to decide on fares. We shall decide that so those bus owners can operate easily.
ඒ නිසා අපි බස් ගාස්තුව තීරණය කරන්නම් තීරණය කරලා බස් ගාස්තුව ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන්නම් බස් හිමියෝ සියලු දෙනාට මම ආරාධනා කරනවා එම ගාස්තුවට දුවන්න ලෑස්ති වෙන්න.
බස් සංගමයක් වශයෙන්
As a bus association, we do not ask for an increase in fares. 10,000 buses are operating the number of journeys that are usually undertaken by 18,000 buses. We request the government for fuel subsidies.
ඩීසල් සහන ආධාරයක් දෙන්න කියලා තමයි අපි රජයෙන් ඉල්ලන්නේ.
The government increased the prices of petrol, diesel and kerosene on Monday. This has affected several industries.
අපි කොච්චර නිෂ්පාදනය එළියට දැම්මත් පාරිභෝගිකයන්ට මිලදී ගන්න හැකියාවක් නැත්නම් මේ කර්මාන්තය කඩා වැටෙනවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම. මේ විදියට කිව්වොත් අර රැකියාව නැති කොටට තමයි මේ කොටත් එකතු වෙන්නේ කියන්නේ.
ජනතාවට ඉතින් පාන් කියා ගන්න බැරි වෙයි කියලා තමයි වන්න හිතන්නේ.
ඒක බණිස් ගෙඩිය ගන්න ඩොලර් තමයි හොයන්න වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මුන් සුරසපි විඳින්න 200 දීපා අපේ ගෑනුන්ව රටවලට විකුණන් කන්න තමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. කොහෙද දන්නේ දැන් ඉන්නේ. 2500 ජීවිතෙන්ද පුළුවන් කියපු එක. ලොකු සැප ගන්නවා අපිට දුක. කරා මේ ආන්නන් තමයි හොඳටම කරේ. සැප තමයි දැන් අපිට ඉතින් කන්න බොන්න නැහැ.
මේ කාලකන්ණි ටික මේ රට යනවා ගමම් යනවා හොඳ විනෝද වෙනවා. කබ්රල් කියන ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ගමම් වැඩි ඉඳලා බැටරි වැඩි කරුවේ.
කනම් වැඩි ඉතින් ජීවත් වෙන්න අමාරුයි. 500ක් ගන්නවොත් 250යි ගන්න වෙන්නේ.
අපිට නම් මේ ලංකාවේ ඉන්න එකත් එපා වෙලා තියෙනවා.
දීවරය සදා අනතුරේ ලොකු බෝට්ටුවකට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් තෙල් ලීටර් ගහනවා 9000ක් 8000ක්. එතනම ලක්ෂයක් විතර වැඩි. කිසිම දුප්පත් මිනිහ ගැන කිසිම නෑ මේ හැඟීමක්. මුන් අපි විනාශ කරලා දාලා තියෙන්නේ.
තෙල් මිල වැඩි වෙනාම හෙට ඉඳන් එන හැම බඩු මුට්ටුවක්ම මිල වැඩි වෙනවා. බලන් ඉදින්දි මිල වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපිට කෑම එකක් මිල කරගන්න බැරි මට්ටමට අපි පත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඉතින් ගානක් කියනකොට ගාන අහලා පස්සේ කරන්නම් කියලා කෝල් එකක් දෙන්නම් කියලා යනවා. ඕක තමයි ඉතින් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
Representatives of the opposition pointed out today that the price of fuel was hiked at 2 instances when the Minister of Finance was overseas. Where is the man with 7 brains? He presented the budget and flew back to his home. All the while, Minister G.L. Piris is increasing the prices of diesel, petrol and kerosene. The Minister of Finance goes missing when the going gets tough. He has captained a substitute player and has fled. Sagar Karyavasam asked Uday Gammampilla to resign when oil prices were hiked. We wish to ask him, who should resign this time? Will he ask his boss, the Minister of Finance, to resign? Or will he ask the feeble G.L. Piris to resign? They are really testing the people's tolerance now. Fuel prices were increased in July 2020. At that time, the government said it was a mistake by the petroleum minister. They said if the man with 7 brains was in the country, it would never have happened. They said it happened because he was in America. They claimed such a fate would not have befallen the country if Basil was in Sri Lanka. They also said prices will be reduced once he returns. 6 months later, Basil is overseas once more. You can see what happened after that. G.L. Piris has been appointed as the finance minister temporarily. He is helpless. The finance minister was in fact appointed because he said he can do it with 7 brains, but he fled the country. With his departure, the fuel prices increased. We wish to ask this from the leaders of the Podujana Peramuna. You said if Basil was here, prices will reduce. If so, why did he flee? This is all taking place according to a script and a conspiracy. All this is done by the Rajapaksas.
Sri Lanka's Central Bank Governor Ajit Nivard Cabral had said that by controlling the supply, the outflow of foreign exchange for fuel will also be reduced. The Department of Government Information, quoting the Central Bank Governor, tweeted that the country is unable to keep subsiding fuel aggressively amidst the dollar crunch. The Central Bank Governor was quoted as saying that Sri Lanka is now paying closer to what neighbouring countries such as India are paying for a litre of petrol. He had noted that comparative to a litre of premium petrol, currently 210 rupees in Sri Lanka, Indians are paying 266 rupees per litre.
Parliamentarian Patli Champikaranamaka explained his opinion on the decision to increase the prices of fuel. Fuel prices have been increased by massive margin, while global prices have slumped. They made inquiries over the price for the last shipment to Sri Lanka. CPC has imported a litre for 85 rupees. The unloading cost for petrol or diesel would be 108 rupees. They now say the prices were increased to reduce consumption. They have already imposed tariffs to reduce consumption. And now they have added another tariff over the existing one. What happens after that? The prices of goods will increase. The central bank governor has no right to recommend a fuel price increase. That responsibility lies with the finance minister and the minister of petroleum. In addition, it is the responsibility of the cabinet led by the president. We do not have milk powder and we are short of 74 medicinal items as well. We are already facing issues with fuel. If we do not have rain for 6 weeks continuously, we will face an energy crisis as well. It is with these issues that we are also having the LPL and other events. They go overseas in numbers, spend time at luxury hotels and even go for car races. They are doing all this while the country faces massive burdens.
Iran has agreed to accept tea from Sri Lanka to settle outstanding payments for oil purchased from Iran. The Ministry of Plantation of Sri Lanka and the Ministry of Industries, Mines and Trade of the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed to formulate a scheme for the settlement of a sum of $251 million outstanding from the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation to the National Iranian Oil Company by means of utilizing the said sum to facilitate the export of Ceylon tea to Iran. Under this scheme, the Ministry of Finance is expected to release Sri Lankan rupees in settlement of the outstanding debt until the entirety is settled. The MOU was signed by Dr. Ramesh Patrana, Plantation Minister of Sri Lanka, and Ali Reza Bhemampak, Deputy Minister of Industry, Mines and Trade of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The central bank says inflation in Sri Lanka had risen to 11.1% for November. A report by the central bank said food inflation had risen to 16.9% in November. It is an increase from 9.4% the same month last year. The report added that cost of vegetables, rice, milk powder, big onions, fresh fish and chicken had increased. Inflation in the non-food category had risen to 6.2% in November. In the same month last year, the rate stood at 1.7%.
Minister Johnston Fernando indicated today that the cost of goods could rise further. The minister made this statement following an inspection tour of the entrance to the Mirigama interchange along the Central Expressway today.
The cost of goods are high. It will increase further. Until the pandemic ceases, we will have to face such difficulties. As intelligent citizens, we must understand these. These aren't things we do willingly. Who would hike the price of fuel willingly? It will affect every layer of society. But we must implement a process which ensures both the people and the economy is protected.
There
is a complication concerning gas. That is regrettable indeed. These need to be probed because I believe there is an act of sabotage involved. Do not worry about foreign reserves. We know our government will collapse if foreign reserves run out. We have acted tactfully. Keeping that in mind, the claims of people like Premadasa in the opposition of an imminent bankruptcy are merely daydreams. Sri Lanka's import bill for October this year had stood at $1.6 billion. Central bank data showed that this is an increase from $1.3 billion in October last year. Sri Lanka's total expenditure for imports from January to October had risen to $16.6 billion. It is an increase from $13.1 billion recorded during the same period last year. The Janata Vimukti Perumana staged a protest in Ambalantota today, opposing the rising cost of living. Children don't have milk powder. Fishermen don't have a good catch. Farmers don't have fertilizer. Traders have poor sales. The people are finding it difficult to survive. Everyone is finding it difficult. But the parliamentarians and ministers are going overseas after the budget was passed to enjoy themselves. We are asking them to return from wherever they are and take steps to make life easy for the people. A large amount of containers are stuck at the port. Many have been imported by the private sector. The government isn't allowing them to clear the stocks. On one hand, the government says it doesn't have money. The private sector imports goods to generate revenue, but the import goods are stuck. They are not allowed to spend dollars and import foods. How can the country move forward like this? The protest lasted for about an hour.
The Ministry of Power says that several areas may experience power cuts today as two generators at the Lakvijay power plant in Norachole are inactive. Ministry spokesperson Sulakshana Jayawardena said the power cuts can occur between 6 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. It would also last for about 30 to 40 minutes. The ministry said it would not be possible to identify the areas that would experience these power cuts.
Still in local news, the strike launched by doctors entered its second day today. The Government Medical Officers Association launched the strike over issues relating to transfers. The operations of clinics at the Kurunegala Teaching Hospital was affected because of the strike. The strike also took place at the Colombo National Hospital. Patients were affected at the Nagara Hospital in Kaltara as well. The strike was underway across hospitals in many parts of the country, but the Government Medical Officers Association said emergency units are continuing to operate.
So far, no president has interfered with transfers. That's because they understand that it's wrong to do it. But now we see political interference in the transfers of medical officers.
දැන් අපිට පෙනී යනවා මේ වෛද්‍ය ස්ථාන මාරුවට දේශපාලන අත ගැනීම.
Yesterday, the President intervened to discuss the matter with the Health Secretary and to take the relevant measures to end the trade union action. But unfortunately, the Health Secretary had responded to that technical decision by saying that the Health Minister's approval is required. Therefore, it is clear that this is politicized. The Health Minister is involved in this. I wish to say that there has been no political interference into the appointments and transfers of medical officers. If anyone can show that something has happened due to political interference, or if anyone can prove that I have interfered, I am even ready to resign at any point.
The Association of Medical Specialists had said that the appointment of interns to the state service must be done based on service requirements. In a statement, the medical body noted that the appointments should not be based on the whims and fancies of any trade union to please their voter base. It added that the selective placement of medical officers based on their trade union affiliations should end at least now than later. The statement said that this would be the only way to stop the uneven distribution of medical officers in the country.
The Chinese government provided medical equipment worth in excess of 20 million rupees today to the Samagijana Palavege's initiative named A Breath of Fresh Air from the Opposition. A delegation comprising the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Ki Zenong, handed over the equipment to the leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa, today. The ambassador and the leader of the opposition engaged in a discussion thereafter.
What we should note here is that this was a donation from the people of China to us. This is not a debt. Hence, it will not burden anyone. As the opposition, we have succeeded in engaging with the international arena and obtain facilities that our country lacks through aid. We are carrying out development without governing power. This is our vision. Every instance we meet foreign representatives, we urge them to assist our nation through aid. That is the message of the Samagijana Balawege. Our vision is to shun defunct political ideologies and to introduce a fresh, progressive political culture which will unify the people to work towards a common goal, which is a prosperous nation.
Very good evening to you, Dom and Asanka.
Thank you for us. Thank you. We should start by thanking for this wonderful location. Thank you for having us here.
It's warm, isn't it?
At this moment in time.
The warmest welcome we've had in a while. Our listenership depends on the fact that we are very genuine. There are times that both Dom and I, we speak of our opinions about certain topics.
There was almost no one listening in at that time because we are predominantly a morning drive show.
The 87 to 107 bandwidth.
You guys are the best paid.
So, Faraz, you got to stop saying that.
Just because you say something often it isn't true.
You know this from Donald Trump. Just because you say it doesn't make it true.
A News First Newsline special with Dom and Asanka. Tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. on TV1.
The Center for Society and Peace says the government should identify those involved in the April 21st attacks if they are to be forgiven.
Although the government says they should be forgiven, the victims can't do the same. Nearly 300 have died and more than 500 are continuing to suffer from their injuries. Many others are suffering mentally. Nonsense? Why is the government asking to forgive the perpetrators? The role of the government is to bring the perpetrators to justice. The Prime Minister doesn't have to say that the perpetrators have to be pardoned. Who is at fault? Is it the government or the Prime Minister? Why is the government jumping the gun?
Former Director of the Criminal Investigations Department, Shania Vesekara, filed an application with the Court of Appeal today. He requested the court to rule that former Supreme Court Judge Upali Abiratna, the chairman of the Presidential Commission appointed to investigate incidents of political victimization, and its members had committed contempt of court by failing to act on the promise they made to the court and to impose punishments on them. The application was filed through Attorney at Law Manjula Balasurya, and the other respondents in the application are PCOI Commissioners Daya Chandrasiri Jatilaka and Chandra Fernando. The application notes that Shania Besekera had filed a writ petition with the Court of Appeal against the decision to summon him to provide evidence at the Presidential Commission appointed to investigate incidents of political victimization for a complaint made by Avant-Garde chairman Nisanka Senadipati. It also noted that when the writ application was called up by the court, the President's counsel appearing for the commissioners had assured the Court of Appeal that action will not be taken against Shania Besekera based on the complaint filed by Nisanka Senadipati until the examination of the writ application is concluded. Shania Besekera in the application pointed out that the respondents enacting the recommendations while such an assurance was given is disregarding the orders given by the Court of Appeal. The application requests the Court of Appeal to rule that the respondents had committed contempt of court as per Article 105 Section 3 of the Constitution and to commence an examination and thereafter penalize them. The Colombo Stock Exchange says the initial public offering of Kapruka Holdings Limited was oversubscribed today. Kapruka Holdings had received applications of over 825 million rupees after it issued 32,826 million shares. The company offered each share at a cost of 15.4 rupees with the aim of raising approximately 505 million in equity capital. Kapruka Holdings is a leading locally owned e-commerce enterprise.
Moving on, a light training aircraft belonging to a private company made an emergency landing between Panadura and Kalutara.
Air Force spokesperson Group Captain Dushan Vijay Singha told Newsfirst that the aircraft had suffered a technical issue and was forced to make an emergency landing. The trainee pilot and instructor were inside the aircraft at the time of the incident and none of them were injured. The aircraft had taken off from the Ratmalana airport at 1:05 in the afternoon and was flying 1,500 feet in the air when the technical issue was experienced.
And with that, it's a wrap of primetime news here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Yuki Poshia, along with our sign language interpreter Tharka Gabriel via Zoom. Take care and good night.